For much of the night, Duke looked like the better football team, but Florida State proved to be deeper, definitely, a little bit faster, a little bit stronger. And then, they had their starting quarterback for the entire football game. Welcome to the Voice of College Football, breaking down the game we all love each and every day with you. Let's get to it. Florida State defeats Duke. They run away in the final few minutes to make what was a hotly contested game look a little bit better in the box score and possibly to the AP voters, who some of them don't pay attention. Duke got off the snide right out of the gate with a long touchdown run from Jaquez Moore. It was noted by Kirk Herbstreit during the broadcast, and he said it 3 or 4 times, so he was pretty adamant about the lack of effort from the Florida State defense, the secondary in particular, chasing down Moore on that initial touchdown. Florida State quickly found out that they could not take the 2-touchdown underdog lightly in this one. The history coming in, you're not going to find this type of mismatch historically of epic proportions too often. 19-0, Florida State led this series coming into the game. They led 98% of the game time during this series, and then also take into consideration that Duke only has lost one-score game coming in, and even though they did not lose a one-score game tonight, it was, for all intents and purposes, a one-score game. There was, in Florida State's first touchdown drive, a 15-yard gain that was negated by a holding call, but you learn with this Florida State football team that they've got so many weapons, starting with number 13, that they can overcome any down or distance adversity, and they did on this one. Certainly, Keziah Holmes with the touchdown to complete a 13-play, 85-yard drive, and Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman, for as good as they are downfield, catching the football, making acrobatic catches, and making defensive backs look silly in the open field. They blocked on that play, and that was the key to the touchdown for FSU, going up, actually down 10-0, so it's a 10-7 ball game at this point. Shyheim Brown, Florida State defensive back, one of the more impressive players in their secondary, one of the leaders, one of the hard hitters, one of the true effort guys, picks off a pass on a diving interception. Great play. And again, Jordan Travis turns it into points when Coleman and Wilson make key catches on the next drive. Keon Coleman, an understated 2 for 54 on this day. Johnny Wilson, 5 catches for 58 and a touchdown. The Duke defensive backs made excellent plays in the end zone to avert the touchdown and force FSU to kick the field goal to make it 17-all. Probably the understated aspect of this game that people won't remember is that the Duke offensive line for much of the night was near dominant. I'm not going to say dominant. I think the term is overused. They controlled the line of scrimmage. They did their jobs. It's an excellent unit to rack up 150 yards of rushing in the first half. Now, they only finished with 192, but of course the absence of Riley Leonard had much to do with that in the second half. Duke put together a beautiful final minute drive that led to a field goal. Florida State with a nice defensive stand inside the 10-yard line, but Duke converted to make it 20-17 at the break. Key situation early in the third quarter. Duke had a 4th and 2 at its own 40 or 45-yard line. Mike Elko caught the Florida State defense with its pants down, and guys were running off the field. They just assumed that Duke was punting. Duke was going to run a play. The officials should not have stopped play. They should have allowed Duke to snap the football. They did not make any personnel changes. Therefore, the defense should not have been allowed to make personnel changes. The officials stopped play. Mike Elko rather upset. You can understand why. He had made the better strategy move there. He did force Mike Norvell to call a timeout there, so he did benefit from that, but Duke had to punt the football, and where they had the game situation in their play, and they might have gained the first down. So an issue with the officiating right there. And then came the possible play of the game It was an injury call. Riley Leonard went down with 7 minutes left in the third quarter. And though Riley Leonard only hit on 7 of 16 passes, it's the leadership, it's the threat against the defense, and then it's also his ability to protect the football that were the enormous difference between he and the backup quarterback, Henry Beelan, who started his first game last week against NC State, and he was protected by the mismatch of Duke's running game and defense against the Wolfpack, only completing 4 of 12 on the day. So mark it down, third quarter, 7 minutes left. Duke's up 20-17. They're inside the FSU 10-yard line when Riley Leonard gets hurt. They could have gone up by 2 scores at that point. They don't kick the field goal. They bypassed the field goal attempt. Mike Elko, despite having the young quarterback in the game, Beelan, went for it on a 4th and 3. Beelan waited as long as he possibly could with Jared Verse breathing down his neck and tossed it toward the end zone. Needed to put up a little bit more air for Calhoun to secure the football. He dove, couldn't get there. So Florida State makes the defensive stand, and that was really that sequence right there. Leonard goes out with a 3-point lead. They're in scoring range to put it up 6. Leonard leaves the game. Beelan comes in, misses the throw in the end zone. They avert the field goal, and then Jordan Travis takes over and leads a beautiful 6-minute drive as Florida State takes control of the game right there. Jordan Travis takes it into the end zone to make it 24-20. JT on the night, 27 of 36 for 268, 62 on the ground for Jordan Travis. The Duke offense was obviously lost with Henry Beelan in the lineup. There were more mistakes made along the offensive line, both in regards to penalties that put them behind the sticks and just missing assignments that they were not missing earlier. 10 minutes left in the game. JT hits Keon Coleman. Beautiful, just tremendous on a 3rd and long play. Throw and catch over the middle that you're going to see many times on Sundays that basically... Again, another nail in the coffin there. Then Lawrence Toafili, who had 73 total yards rushing and receiving, an underrated guy out of the Florida State backfield off the screen play, takes it into the end zone. 7 plays, 74 yards. And at this point, the Duke defense is worn to shreds. They are worn down, can't keep up. They're worn down. And Florida State having its way the final few drives of the game. Rodney Hill tacked down a touchdown to make it 38-20. Florida State 7-0. Duke, do not forget about the Dukies. They only have this one loss in ACC play, so they're very much in play. Of course, they've got the tiebreaker over Clemson, having won that weekend, Labor Day weekend game against the Tigers. They've got a bye week, and it's probably well-placed for Duke. Got the bye week, then they take on Wake Forest. We'll have to see about the status of Riley Leonard going forward. He wanted to come back into the ballgame. Mike Elko would not allow him, so he may not be injured severely since he was able to kind of jog around on the sideline, but Elko would not let him come back in. Florida State, of course, the story in this one, 7-0, marching toward a college football playoff appearance. They go to Wake Forest. They go to Pitt the next 2 weeks. You would figure those are layups, but we do see what happened in Chapel Hill tonight, so don't mark them down. Remember, this same Florida State team went to Boston College and barely escaped. We're lucky in some respects. So Florida State marches at 7-0. They've got Miami. They've got Florida down the line. Your thoughts about the Seminoles and their rise to power here in the ACC as they control the conference right now. Duke gave it a shot. And I got to say, if you are ranking teams correctly, you rank Duke appropriately, not based on the final score, based on playing one of the best teams in the country and actually looking like the better team through 3 quarters until the depth and maybe the better talent, and definitely the loss of their quarterback wore them down. Your thoughts, Duke, Florida State, right here at the Voice of College Football.